Hey Anthony, I got your question about the rotation issues and thought it'd just be easier to make a quick video to explain, I think, how to get yourself out of this rotation thing. Yeah, rotations are sort of weird and odd in Scratch that if it doesn't sort of do exactly what you want. But let me show you there are a couple of other things that you can try to help you if you run into this type of problem elsewhere. So if I click on your truck is I think happier than your car right now, and mostly that's because you're using the if on edge bounce, which is um, useful, because it simulates a bounce pretty well. Um, and basically, it rotates you 180 degrees and says keep going. And the move, of course, move is different than change X or change Y, and that it moves whatever direction it's facing. Um, and I know I'm sure you tried that for your car as well, and you switched to change Y by 5 because you wanted it to go up and down rather than left and right. But since the car isn't necessarily facing that way, the bounce wasn't quite working the way that you wanted it to. Um, but I think we can fix that with one extra little feature that I didn't probably show you in the videos that I just discovered myself while I was trying to figure out how to fix your game here. So maybe instead of the change, let's go back to the move because that worked well for the truck. And if on edge bounce, that worked well too. Now I know you tried this, and I'm sure you saw the same issue happening, which is that this is going to make it go left and right? Because you're pointing 90 degrees, it's going to have you going left and right, just like the truck is doing. So it'll bounce, but it's going to bounce you left and right rather than up and down. So one thing for sure that you probably want to do is face the truck down. I'm sorry, face the car. Have it point down to start, so at least that way it's heading in the right direction. Um, and then if we try this, let's see what happens. Right. So, and I'm sure you probably tried this too and was like, well, that's good. It's moving in the right directions and all, and it's bouncing, and that looks great. But of course, most cars don't drive um, that way. They should be facing when they spin. They should be, the car should be facing up and down, which it was until I made it um, rotate down. So the way to fix that is actually if you click on a little eye. I'll show you that one more time. There's a little eye in the corner of any of the sprites, which is basically just extra information about what the object is doing. So it gives you the X and the Y, and it tells you what direction. Right now, of course, it's going between 0 and 180, which it is, because it's going up from up to down and up to down. But when it's rotating each time, it's rotating by spinning. What you really want is I would call this more of a mirror rotation. So if you click this, obviously that sort of magically fixes it. And what this does is that when it spins you, it's still doing 0 to 180, 0 to 180. But rather than spinning, which is kind of what you were getting, it's instead always just sort of taking the mirror image, which I know sometimes it's hard to figure out why that should be different. And I'll be honest, sometimes this is one of these things that you're just sort of like, you know what, it works now, so I'm just kind of happy with that. Anyway, so I think that should be a nice little fix. And now it actually has a pretty similar script to your truck, right, which is doing the left-right thing. Incidentally, on your truck, this looks certainly the motion of the truck is okay. And I think you had a second costume because I think you were going to try to maybe switch to have the left-facing truck appear when it bounced off of this edge. But again, the rotation is spinning that it's doing when it's bouncing rather than mirror image, but we might call it an inversion. So I think, actually, if you click on the eye for the truck here, this is spinning every time it hits an edge, but you want it to invert. So I think this is a better kind of rotation in this case. Sometimes it isn't, right? For our little Pong game, it wasn't the kind of rotation we wanted. We did want it to spin. So anyway, yeah. So So you actually don't need a second costume for the truck. It's all this costume, and it's just rotating by inverting rather than spinning. So anyway, okay, but this looks like a good start to your game. So good luck continuing with this guy, and play around with stuff. I know that probably that took me. I did not immediately just jump to like, oh yeah, here's how you fix this. I sort of messing around a little bit, trying to sketch things differently or whatever. So keep messing around with stuff. I know you tried some other things to try to get this guy or things to work. So keep it up, and let me know if you have any other questions.